Hello, officials, and welcome into another week of training videos for Wyoming High School football and the Wyoming Sports Officials Association. This is Tyler Spear, your coordinator of football officials. Two clips this week, and these two clips are interesting because what they've created is an opportunity for us to discuss pass coverage and pass play coverage. I wouldn't be lying if I didn't say that in both of these clips, I wish we had college coverage. Both of these plays would be absolute ho-hummers if we had deep wings, but we don't. And so as we look at both of these plays, what we're going to examine is how we can cover these better as officials, because I don't know about you, but I'm seeing a lot more of this kind of set throughout the state, and we need to be able to see these plays. So let's get started. Oh, before we get going, again, the cool part of both of these plays is that they were sent in by the crews themselves. This is not something where I went digging for information. The crews actually sent them to me and said, "Hey, Tyler, these would be great clips." Kudos to these crews for doing that, for having the courage to share their film. I invite you to send me plays as well. Again, our goal here is to get better as a state and to be more consistent as a state. We're not singling anybody out. In fact, I would give these crews an attaboy for saying, "Hey, use these clips." So here we go. We get started. And as we get going here, we'll get close to the snap. We have motion. Formation looks good. Snaps look good. I'm going to draw your attention to the doubles up here at the top part of your screen. Okay, so these two receivers here, as well as the two defenders that are covering them. Okay, so that's where our attention is going to be. Here we go. We have a touch, but oh wait, what do we really have here? On this play, it's pretty clear that we have the makings of OPI. So we have kind of a busted coverage, and then that receiver number 8, in essence, stops on his route, and it creates that lane for the other receiver to have an unencumbered opportunity at the ball, and it goes in for a touchdown. So obviously we have OPI on this situation. For me, this is in the bucket of blocking downfield. And so a flag needs to be dropped in this situation. It's clear that this is OPI. Now, the problem here comes from how do we cover this? Because obviously we have our keys at the beginning, and we're going to assume that each association knows what we're doing here, who has the outside receiver, who has the inside receiver. That's great, but obviously with only 5 of us, we go from keys, we go man, zone, ball, right? And you'll see that throughout man, zone, and then ball. And so if we start here, we've got no press coverage, so we're in man. As the motion goes, we have to go zone. And this is where the problem arises, because our wing here, our wing official, his zone is challenging because he has this action here, but he's also got Bob back out of the backfield. And so our eyes can't go 2 directions. That's a challenge as well. So there's something there to consider. And then also, what does our back judge have for an opinion on this as well? Potentially straight lined, but I don't think so. All this to say, somebody's got to have eyes on this. And as I look at zones, I would say either official could have eyes on this. It kind of comes at you a little bit because it is a little busted, and then it kind of just looks like he stops. You may not have the best perception of that from an individual angle. Use this as an opportunity to come together. If you think you got something, I would say this is a time when a late flag would be okay. But all this to say, between the headlinesman and the back judge, we've got to have eyes on this, okay? Mechanically, there's some things to clean up here as well. Very briefly, referee, you don't need to move. Umpire, you don't need to move. Back judge, where are you standing? Those are things just to check up on quickly. But ultimately, as we look at this play one more time, it's clear that 8 stops. It creates that throwing lane. It ends up being a touch. Signal touchdowns on the goal line. Again, thanks to this crew for sending this in. Folks, we got to make sure we see that, and it's tough, but make sure we have eyes on that when it happens, and we drop a penalty marker on this for OPI. All right, our second play here is another one that's got a conundrum here, so we'll let this go. The background noise. All right, here we go, 1st and 10. I'm gonna let it go through one time. Okay, we have a pick, a change of possession, but we also have contact in the middle. This up just a little bit. And I want you obviously to draw your attention to this guy right here, number 80. He's going to come over the middle on a route. He comes over the middle on a route here, and watch how he is covered by the defender here. So there's some layers to this, right? The first one of which is when this player goes across the middle, we've obviously gone from man to zone in this situation. We have no press coverage. We've gone to zone. Who's going to have eyes on this? Okay, I would argue that our back judge has got some action deep because we have receivers here that are running patterns that are all over the place. Initial key puts this on the line judge side of the field. And so the line judge could have that, but really we're in kind of the middle of the field here where there's an opportunity to be straight lined potentially. But somebody's got to have eyes on this. Maybe the back judge, either wing. Umpires, we don't throw any kind of PI really ever, unless it's the ultimate crew save here. So obviously umpires not, but wings, back judge, somebody's got to have eyes on this. But then we take that to the next level here, and at the moment of contact here, where's the ball? The ball is in the QB's hands. So now we have to revisit, when do pass interference restrictions happen for each team? And if you dig in your book, you'll discover that OPI begins at the snap, but DPI does not occur until we have a legal forward pass. Okay. And if you dig that up, you can find that in your rule book. It's in the definitions as well. It's in 231. 2-31 is where you'll find that definition. A forward pass is a pass thrown with its initial direction towards the opponent's inline. Forward pass has gone beyond the neutral zone. If at any time it has gone beyond it, a forward pass when it is caught, touches the ground. Forward pass ends when it is caught, touches the ground, or is out of bounds. All this to say we cannot have a legal forward pass until those things occur. Again, that's 231, 2-31 in your book. So we don't have a legal forward pass at this moment. So the first question is, do we have DPI? And the answer is no. However, what we do have here, in my opinion, is we have defenseless player. Okay. You could also go personal foul and necessary roughness. Regardless, obviously a marker needs to be thrown on this one, but we, by definition, do not have DPI. I would argue you have a contact made by a shoulder to the shoulder of the pass receiver. So we don't have targeting, but I would say you have defenseless player by rule, and I think your definitions would back it up. All this to say a marker needs to be dropped on this. Clearly, the coach of the team that was fouled sees it and isn't happy. Where this ends up is on a score a couple plays later. So just as we rewatch this, folks, when we get into our zones, we've got to be able to see the things. This was clearly a design pass for this individual, and his opportunity to make a play was taken away. And so we want a marker dropped on this. I would say somebody's got to see this. This is in that middle zone, which makes it tough. And so be a crew saver on that. Maybe the H, you're kind of in the sun, but you could see it. The L, you could see this for sure. Maybe the B, but one of the three of you has got to see this so that we can have the crew save on this, because really this would be potentially a game impacting call. It's certainly a no call. Like the last one would be graded a no call. This is a no call. But where the team scores a couple of plays later, we gotta get this one. So somebody be a crew saver on this. One more time as we look through it. All right, guys, just as we finish up here, biggest thing here is when you're in the car driving to a game or when you're at the game site, make sure we're pre-gaming these kind of things. You know, those basketball officials, as messed up as they are, they get that little board with the magnets and they talk about movement and they talk about who's covering where. I think that's a great opportunity for us as football officials to steal that and do that here. Okay, if we do have a pass over the middle, who's got eyes on that? Or if we do this little two-man pick play, who's going to have eyes on that? Let's talk about those things in our pregame so that ultimately we can cover these better as officials, because at the end of the day, we've got a duty to the game to make sure we've got eyes where we need to have them, particularly as it relates to player safety. So that's what I have for you this week. Again, don't hesitate to reach out with any plays, with any comments you may have. I really appreciate your feedback. I truly am seeking it. So please send me what you have. And at the end of the day, let's all get better as officials. Thanks again for your time and take care.